What a beautiful ball. Now it's Cristiano Ronaldo with a chance maybe to seal it, and he has taken it. Lahm in all kinds of space. Lahm, Muller through. Muller could be embarrassing. It's three. Toni Kroos. Olivier Giroud. Barkley's found Klein with a speedy burst, and that's terrific from Vardy. Oh, what a goal by Jamie Vardy.
Hello, good evening and welcome TFHP, hashtag TFHP Euros. It's the Football Hipsters podcast. And once again, it's more football, which means there's more talking to be done. I am your host, Kris. And tonight I've got Drew back with me, fresh off of the pod last night. I think he's recovered. Probably tonight's results helped that. So good evening to you, Drew.
Hey, guys.
And I've also got John, who's making his return after a day off, who might not be quite so chuffed with tonight's result. Good evening, John.
Good evening.
Right then, let's jump straight in then. John, I'll start with you. So, pessimistic heading into it. This was the big game for you. It was Italy versus Germany. Went all the way to penalties after a 1-1 draw, and wouldn't you know it, one of your favourite players contrived to miss one of the penalties, which ultimately sealed Italy's fate in losing the game. What did you make of it?
I know quite a few people were a bit bored with it and thought it was a bit dull. I absolutely loved it for the periods where Italy looked comfortable anyway. I thought Lowe shuffled his team really well to counteract how well Italy had played in the previous games, and we didn't see Italy having a lot of the ball and being able to pass it as well and as comfortably. I think partly that was down to De Rossi being out the side and the reshuffle in midfield with Parolo being the more defensive player and Storaro coming in. But Germany, I thought, pressed at the right times, and it was really back and forth. It was very tactical. There was very few chances. I thought both defences were playing brilliantly. There was lots of exciting defensive play to talk about. Very few moments of real quality up front. When there was, there were lots of nearly moments, really, more than anything else. Two strange goals for both teams to concede. I thought, Italy letting runners into the box completely unmarked for Ozil's goal was very strange for them, the way they played all through the tournament. Germany to give up the penalty, especially the fact it was Boateng, just really stupid decision to put his hands up that high, very unlike him. But yeah, great game of football. And then the most bizarre penalty shootout I think I've ever seen. Penalty shootouts 50-50, you never know what's going to happen. I thought Germany probably had the better players on the pitch to at least take them. There's an argument that it's basically a coin flip between the keepers. But yeah, some really awful penalties from players you do not expect. In particular, more the German ones, more necessarily than some of the Italian players. So I'm disappointed. Obviously, Italy are out, but really pleased with how they've done in the tournament, because nothing was expected of them at all. I think they've probably been one of the best teams to watch throughout the tournament so far. So they can go home with their heads held high. Conte, who wasn't particularly celebrated, perhaps back in Italy so much, at least as a national manager, can walk away from the job with his head held high as well as he goes on to Chelsea now. Germany go through to semi-final. I think they were maybe, it was a little bit lucky for them to go through. They've got a very good team, but they need to play better than that if they want to win the competition, because I would say on paper they've got the best team left in it. But yeah, they've got to certainly up their performance. But I enjoyed, if you're talking from a sort of neutral point, I certainly enjoyed the game.
Yeah, it's definitely a war of attrition as far as the game goes. But Drew, moving on to the German side then, it was, as John was saying, they were a tactically close, hard-fought battle. Battle was definitely the word, but ultimately, will the Germans look back on tonight and think, we weren't great, but we're in the semi-finals, and that's what's the most important thing?
Well, yes and no. I mean, you have to sort of go with what's presented in front of you. So they made it to the semifinals, which is, I guess, the minimum goal. Yeah, I was actually talking to my brother before, and I think the sentiment around the German team is that if they don't make the final, I think people are going to think it's a failure considering their record at major tournaments. So they're always going to be a favorite, but this is yet another match that a tournament favorite hasn't performed to the level where you would expect. And with the 11 Yurgilo ended up going with, it was risky. It actually worked a little bit better than I realized. If you look back at the match, I think Italy only got into the box 6 times all match. They're always happy to sit back and defend, but Italy weren't as great on the counterattack as we've seen them in previous matches. So they didn't really test Germany very often, but Germany, for all the possession they had and the amount of touches they saw, completed passes that they had, they didn't get into the box all that frequently either. And again, they've made it easy for the defenders. And it's almost like a broken record now. Time and time again, we see the team that has the lion's share of possession and then touches, especially in the final third, they're not doing enough with it. I don't think that's down to the formation necessarily. I think it's down to the fact that not enough players were making runs into dangerous areas. And I think if you look back at the first half, even you see the type of Germany's 2 best chances came from Mats Hummels playing a long ball into the box, and they get me sort of a half chance out of it. And I know Germany will be happy with the fact that they're through, but I don't think they'll be happy with the level they've been playing. And as we said pre-pod recording, that you'd have to look at them and say, maybe someone like France or whoever else they might come up against might not look at them and say, we can't beat them. I think teams think they can go out and maybe beat them. So we'll see how they progress from here. But they haven't really been great. It has to be said.
It's definitely becoming a tournament where it's getting harder and harder to pick a clear sort of favourite or clear team that you'd expect to win it from here. So we've got one more quarterfinal to go before we judge completely. But yeah, I agree with both sentiments there. John, from your sort of perspective on both teams, really, has this sort of been a tournament where both have surprised you slightly? Because Italy came into the tournament of kind of looking as that side that you could never rule out, but people said, the worst team in 50 years, etc. And then Germany have come into the tournament with everyone saying, they could sweep all aside, and yet they've only really got going once. So what do you make of both sides' tournaments as a whole?
I was, going into the tournament, talking about Italy first, I was disappointed with the team selection. I thought some of the wrong players had been picked. I thought there was players who had outstanding seasons in Serie A. Particularly Jorginho at Napoli, who was left out. I thought there was maybe an argument Belotti could come in. Some of the younger players, and they weren't picked. And ultimately, I think me and lots of other people were proven wrong. Conte just got the best out of this bunch of players who aren't amazingly talented when you look at them individually, but together collectively they do exactly what he wants. They run all day. You saw Florenzi, who, yes, he will play fullback sometimes for Roma, but he is better further up forward. Tonight he was amazing. The clearance he did, that sort of acrobatic somersault clearance, like off the line from the Müller shot, was amazing. The calmness to bring the ball down in the box and then dink it over Ozil's head for Barzagli to bring the ball out from the back. Moments like that. So they got to show, certain players got to show off what they can do at times, but it was a real team collective and how much they were together. So that really impressed me, and also the forward sort of thinking passing that they had in most of the games. They weren't sitting back and defending. They were taking it to the other team and being quite progressive in their play, which really did surprise me. I expected a much more sort of backs to the wall, kind of hit on the counter and do nothing else. As for Germany, I haven't been hugely surprised. The disappointment for me from the early start was playing Mario Götze as the false nine. I thought it was just much better playing with Gomez up top. I thought tonight they were very good in the fact that they played 2 strikers, with Gomez and Müller both up top. I thought that really worked and really did cause a lot of problems for Italy, pulling the back line about a lot more and forcing the wing backs on. The problem I have with them, and this even sort of carried over from the World Cup, to be honest, because as good as they were in the World Cup when they won it, for all the quality they've got, they do have the sort of they're starting to look a bit too much like Spain were, where they're so comfortable on the ball, they don't move it quick enough. And they've got the players good enough to do it. And I know sometimes they're just quite comfortable to wear a team down and get it in the 70th or 80th minute, get that goal. But if you've got that much quality, just punish a team early on, because they're good enough to do that and seal the game up earlier. And I think they're maybe a little bit guilty of that. And the one issue they will have, whoever they get in the semi-final, whether it is France or Iceland, they are still weak at the back. Boateng's been superb, but you can see how easy it is to get through their midfield. They don't really have a defensive cover, and obviously we don't know the extent of Khedira's injury. That could be a really big blow to them, because they do not have a lot of pace in there, and I thought that was a little bit disappointing that Italy didn't try and exploit that a bit more when Schweinsteiger came on so early in the game. So there's still problems there, but I think they look much better now. That's with Hector and Kimmich as the fullbacks, that looks a lot more stable. But there's still issues. It's so strange being this late into a tournament and not having a sort of outstanding team.
I think it's very, very interesting to hear you say what you said there, because I kind of agree with pretty much everything you said there, and thought the same myself, especially about Germany, sort of from the World Cup looking forward. So I agree with that as well, 100%. Drew, let's talk about some of the performances tonight from the German players. First thing I want to ask you about is the change of system, which was clearly a 3-5-2 tonight. Some labelled it a 4-4-2, but it looked 3-5-2 to me. Something that really stood out for me tonight was the impression that the quote-unquote fullbacks made. There was a lot made of Germany not having fullbacks prior to the tournament. Kimmich and Hector, really impressive tonight, I thought.
Well, everyone knew Hector was going to be the left back. He's been in the fold for quite a bit. So, I mean, the job was him to lose. So the question was always who was Germany going to play at right back. And pre-tournament, you look at that team and you saw how Joshua Kimmich came through at Bayern Munich. You wouldn't think that he would have been an option for right back. That's why people were debating if it was going to be Mustafi or Huides or even Emre Can, who we've seen do that before at club level and for Germany. But the reason why he's gone with Kimmich is because he's comfortable on the ball. He has some of the best pace out of any of the German defenders, probably bar Hector and maybe Boateng when he really gets going, and he's good going forward. And because he's so technically sound, he can play a ball into the box that someone like Huides or Mustafi can't. So that's why I think he's evaluated Kimmich when he came on for his first appearance, how good he was. I think that sort of nailed down that it's almost like his job to lose now, at least until World Cup qualifying potentially starts. But I think both of them performed well. Germany's three center backs today they're all good enough and experienced enough to go on short notice with a back three. But because Hector is defensively sound, and so is Kimmich, I think the formation worked. The problem is that Germany didn't utilize enough movement when they got the ball. So many times you'd see Kris or Ozil on the ball, and then there just wasn't enough movement, even from Thomas Müller, who we all talk about how good he is with his understanding of space in the final third. Even he was very static today. So I don't know if that was because they just they maybe were intimidated by how well Italy defend, if there wasn't enough space for them to run into, or even if they just, I don't know, it just seemed like everyone was waiting around for the creative centers to come up with ideas, and when they couldn't come up with them because of how well they would defend, it just sort of broke down. But I mean, in regards to the fullbacks, I think they've both been excellent. I don't know what more to say about that, but it's just, I don't know how it's going to affect Germany moving forward, though. And John mentioned about the midfield being concerned now with Khedira out, and I do think it's a bit of a concern. I mean, neither Kris or Khedira are mobile. And then Schweinsteiger comes on, and he's not exactly the most mobile either, as we can all attest. But this might be a situation where you almost kind of have to see Emre Can or even Julian Weigl come in, because both of them can play that deeper holding role. They're both comfortable on the ball. They both distribute the ball, but they have a bit more mobility than what we're used to seeing from Germany's center midfielders. So I don't know if it's going to be a problem yet, but if they come up against someone like a France, who you have someone like a Dimitri Payet who can pick the ball up in between that hole in between the midfield and the defenders, who can then start running with it, it could cause them problems. But I mean, everyone questioned Germany's back four before the tournament, and I think that question's been answered. But I think now the midfield becomes the question, and also where the goals are going to be coming from moving forward. So we'll have to see how they sort of adapt to that, depending on who they play.
Yeah, I agree. And Mario Gomez, I thought, worked his socks off tonight, but not sure whether he's the answer or not. He's certainly better than Mario Götze is in that role, that's for sure. John, what about from Italy's standpoint? I mean, who sort of grabbed your focus tonight? Just watching the game myself, I was impressed with Florenzi's work rate. I thought he just kept going and going. I thought as usual, the back line was pretty solid, pretty steady, and sort of again worked tirelessly. Eder's movement as well tonight was exceptional. So, who impressed you tonight, and which of this current side do you think we could see at the next World Cup with Italy building a base?
I thought both the wing backs tonight for Italy were really good because first half they were pinned back so much and didn't really get to go forwards. And I think Florenzi at times has been questioned defensively, but I thought he was really good tonight. I think they said he'd run 11 kilometres when he came off substituted, which is just ridiculous when after a long season you're that deep into a tournament. De Sciglio has come in for a lot of stick at Milan. He got labelled the new Maldini when he was very young, and at least at this tournament he's really impressed. Obviously the back three and Buffon, you don't even need to mention them because they've just been superb throughout. But like you said, Eder was very good. The one player who's impressed me the most throughout the entire tournament though is Giaccherini. It's just unbelievable. The distance he covers, some of the runs he's been making, his movement off the ball, his passing, the goal he's got, just really good. And it amazes me to see how well he can play for the national team and how he has struggled at different clubs and never quite found a home. Whether he stays now at Bologna, where he did okay this season, will be interesting to see. But there's a lot of players who are sort of 30 or over in this team, and then there's all the players you look at on the bench, like El Shaarawy, Bernardeschi, Insigne came on tonight. They're really the future of Italy. And Insigne, when he came on, I thought that was the right move, and he looked bright and had a wonderful little turn in the box, but couldn't really do anything else with it other than get the shot off. So there's definitely promise for the future. But just an all-round, just the whole team, everyone was superb throughout. The players that came on as sub, Storaro came in, into the midfield, hasn't really played much. I thought he did very well tonight in a role although that's a similar system to what Juve play, it's not really his role that he would normally play within the team, and he did that quite well, I thought, against a very, very good German midfield. And as I said, the back three were great, and Pella was just superb all tournament, really impressive. We've spoken to Ross obviously about it, being a Southampton fan. He's been amazed with some of the performances he's put in. So other than his penalty, I think he'll be able to find himself if he is to move from Southampton. There'll be certainly a lot of clubs queuing up to take his signature.
Yeah, I think there will be indeed, to say possibly in Serie A as well. So let's sort of move again back to you, Drew. Just with Germany moving forwards from this result, then obviously a long penalty victory, a long sort of period of play to get to penalties tonight. So they're obviously going to be feeling that in the legs as they go into a semi-final with potentially France or Iceland, which we'll preview in a tick. Do you worry that the legs will start to catch up? I mean, they're going to have a few players suspended from tonight as well for that game. So is that a fear of yours? And are you quietly confident that Germany could potentially go all the way now?
I don't. I don't have nearly as much confidence in this team as I have in previous years. I don't know. They've shown that they really can't bring a different approach, even when formation shift, even when different players are introduced into the 11. They're still very much a one-trick pony in regards to the tactical deployment of they need to keep possession. And we saw it. We spoke about it in the Belgium match where when Belgium would get the ball, even though they had the chance to break on the counter with the right players to do it, even they were just very stubborn in their approach, and they insisted on building up play methodically. And Germany are much the same way, and I think that's going to be, it could potentially be an Achilles heel for them. So I don't know how confident I am. In regards to fitness levels, I think they're going to be okay, and even if a player or two needs to be rested, I think they do have the depth to deal with it. I think they have one of the better pools of defenders in the tournament. They have a very talented midfield. I think you question maybe where the goals are going to come from moving forward. But no, I mean, I think they'll be okay. It'll be interesting to see who he replaces Hummels with, who misses the semifinal now with an extra yellow. So I don't know if it's going to be Huides or Mustafi, or I don't think it's going to be Jonathan Tah, as much as I would like to see that. So I think they should be okay, but it's very, they've been very underwhelming, and I think no one can really be happy with the level of their performances at this point.
Definitely going to have to raise their game if they are to progress, you would think, past France, which again we'll come on to briefly. But before we do, John, just overall, sort of looking at Antonio Conte now is going to be moving on, and Italy are going to be getting a new boss. What do you think? What sort of impact do you think Conte will have in the Premier League? And how do you see this Italian squad sort of changing now under the new managership? Because it's going to be very different tactically, you would think, moving forwards.
I don't think tactically is an issue. Italian players are very good at adapting to different systems. They're taught lots of different systems from an early age, so I don't think that will be an issue. It will be exciting to see the younger players coming in, like Belotti, like Bernardeschi, Berardi. Insigne hopefully gets more of a run, because there's lots of exciting forwards, young forwards in Italy now, so that's the one thing they've been missing for quite a while. As for Conte in the Premier League, I'm really excited to see what he's going to do. As an Arsenal fan, I'm slightly terrified, because he could turn Chelsea into an absolute monster to play against again. It could be shades of first time round with Mourinho, that very aggressive, lots of hard running, very solid defensively, hard to break down, won't concede many goals. But the sort of the change in him that he they can go and score a lot of goals, which he did at Juventus as well, to be fair. And I think is the sort of typical stick that Italians will get, is that they just defend first and maybe score later if they can be bothered. It's just how quickly he can adapt to the Premier League, because it is a very different pace to Serie A. Physically, that kind of thing. I think he's already got some good players there to use and build upon. I'll be interested to see how many players from Serie A he ends up bringing over to the Premier League, though, because there's quite a few he's had on his shopping list for a long time, even when he was at Juventus, who would definitely fit into the Chelsea team. Raja Nainggolan is one name that I know has been linked with Chelsea quite a bit lately. And he's a typical Conte player who, as he says, will eat grass for him. Will just run and run all day. So, no, I'm really excited to see what he does. As long as they don't finish above Arsenal, it's fine.
Yeah, can but hope. Right, let's just have a look.
Sorry, before we move on, there was just two things I wanted to say. One, technically speaking, and this is even from a German journalist, Germany still haven't beat Italy in knockout competition football. Not in 90 minutes.
To get that one in.
Yeah, well, that's true. And secondly, oh dear, Simone Zatsa. Oh dear.
Yeah, I think I blame you for his.
I've been so mean to him all season.
And you'll be even more disappointed when he rocks up as Arsenal's number 9 next season, because you just know it will happen now. Or at Southampton, one of the two. So just Ross will have to bring him up every week. You just know it's going to happen. Right, let's have a quick look ahead to tomorrow's game then. Unless anybody's got anything else to say on tonight, but I think we've pretty much covered it. We've got the final quarter-final, which is the host France entertaining, probably along with Wales, the surprise package of the tournament in Iceland. Let's just get your thoughts, really, guys. Stu, where do you see this game being won and lost? Because it's going to be quite a clash of styles, quite a clash of cultures. The pressure will be on the hosts, but the freedom will be on the underdogs. So how do you see this going, and how do you think this game is to be won?
I think the midfield battle is absolutely key. So we've seen how hard Iceland work, both with the ball and off the ball, tireless runners. They have, I think, 4 of the 7 or 8 fastest players at the tournament as well, clocked speed-wise. So I think French are going to have their hands full in regards to having to keep pace with them all match long. So I think Deschamps has to get his midfield selection correct. I know people speak out against it, and I can see the point that you don't want a ton of hard workers in midfield, but I think this is the match where you might actually need it. So some might say you can't play Matuidi and Conte next to each other. Actually, a lot of people have said it, to be honest, and a lot of journalists as well. But I think you might need that, because I think you're going to need people who can close the ball down quickly, efficiently enough, who can cut out passing lanes. And then hopefully they can get the ball to someone like a Pogba or a Payet, who can then pick the ball up and run it to defense, and maybe sort of get them out of their comfort level, and then maybe slip a ball through to whoever, if it's Coleman on the right or Griezmann on the left, or if he plays central, who knows. But I think that the midfield battle is absolutely key, and I think it'll limit Iceland's chances if France do it efficiently enough, but vice versa. I think if Iceland win a midfield battle, I think they'll actually win the match. You just can't count them out. But I think France will be the favorite going into the match, but you just never know. Honestly, anything's possible at this point, to be sure. But I think France should come out winners. But I wouldn't be surprised if Iceland won either.
Well, pressure will be on, of course, with Conte suspended and Remy suspended. The pressure will be on probably Johan Cabaye. We think is going to come in the match.
Oh, I forgot that Conte is suspended. Never mind.
Yeah,
actually,
so it might work out to be benefit. It might work out not to be. We shall have to see. But John, what about the case for Iceland then? I mean, they've been a breath of fresh air. I mean, they've been fantastic. And the good thing about them is it hasn't just been all about gritty, sticking 10 men behind the ball, hoping for the best football. I mean, they have at times impressed. And the game against England, of course, particular, where they really deserve that result. Do you back them to give France a real scare tomorrow, or do you think it'll be a case of finally something will click and they will bow out with dignity?
I think if Deschamps gets his lineup correct from the start of the game rather than from half time, as he has done in most of the games this tournament, then I would put France through. But you can't discount Iceland because they have been good. They've played some good football. They've defended very well. They're not scared to leave men up the pitch either. They've been leaving 2 men up the pitch quite a lot in games, which teams are just not used to dealing with. They're not used to dealing with 2 strikers. It's not sort of what's done in European football, at least these days. So the worry I have for France is that Iceland are very good from set pieces, and France have looked very shaky on set pieces in particular, but just at the back in general. So it's really hard to call because there's been so many surprises in this tournament. I think, like Drew said, it wouldn't surprise me if Iceland won. I don't think it would anymore because of all the things they've done. But France should really be winning this game if they put in the right performance. I think basically if you see Payet starting on the left and Griezmann in behind Giroud, then the rest of the team pretty much picks itself really around those. You're getting some of your best play out there. I think Iceland would then struggle to deal with that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a real interesting game, and very, very keen to see, or very, very keen to see how the two styles clash. And we will, of course, be across that one. Before we go, of course, we have to do the hipster's choice of the day, or hipster of the day, hipster of the game, whichever you prefer. I haven't influenced anybody tonight. I really genuinely don't know who to pick tonight. So, John, let's start with you. Who do you reckon?
Oh God. I'm going to go... I'm going to have to pick an Italian, even though they lost. Which I know Drew will pick a German and you'll go with the winning team. So, not that I'm going to go with Giaccherini.
Interesting, yeah. And Drew, who are you going to go for?
I genuinely don't know because I don't think any German players, honestly, I don't think any of them really deserve it. Well, no, actually, I'll say Jonas Hector. That'll be my choice.
Interesting. This is tough. Because this is really tough because I had a few choices in mind, but I wasn't 100% sure. So
I'm surprised John didn't pick Parolo. I thought Parolo was excellent.
Yeah, impressed me as well. Actually, I must admit. Joe, I'm going to go with Hector. Not because they won the game, but I'm with you, Joe. I think he's been really, really good this tournament, and I wouldn't say he's come out of nowhere, but for a player who's only been in the Bundesliga for 2 seasons, if I'm right in saying so, to make his step up, I think he's come through the league. So he's impressed me. A word for Joshua Kimmich as well for that penalty. The amount of pressure he had to take probably the best penalty I've seen in this tournament was superb. So a little nod to him, and I agree. I thought Giaccherini was very good, and Parolo also good for Italy, along with Florenzi and Adair. So quite a lot to choose from tonight. Given that it was quite a tactical game, it's hard to pick out one outstanding individual. But I'm going to go with...
Buffon dived, did he guess the right way nearly every penalty, I think?
Oh, he was so unlucky, wasn't he? Yeah, that last one's just right underneath him.
And I was amazed whether it just didn't keep putting it down the middle for because Neuer was just diving to one side pretty much for like the first 6 penalties, I think it was.
That's because no one in their right mind guesses the middle, because then you look like a fool when you do it and they kick it to the left or the right.
Oh god, if Graziano had only just actually done the Panenka he said he was going to do as he stepped up.
Yeah, that's some of those run-ups were quite bizarre as well, weren't they? Really, really were. But yeah, nevertheless, we got the Germans through in the end. Germans win on penalties. Who'd have thought? And we have 3 of the 4 semi-finalists now then. We have Portugal against Wales, and we have Germany against X. It will be France or Iceland. We shall see tomorrow. Who have we got tomorrow? I think it's Ross and Tom back tomorrow, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, I think so.
So we shall be across those games tomorrow. But that is it for tonight. Another game done and dusted. 3-4 games to go. No, or is there a third, fourth, sixth game? There isn't, is there? Or is there? I don't know. There's either 4 or 5 or 6 or 20 games. Who knows? However many games will be across them. So that's what you call planning, boys and girls. Anyway, my thanks to both John and to Drew for their time this evening. Thank you, chaps.
Grazie.
Lovely, beautiful. And we have been the Football Hipsters. As usual, you can follow us on all the usual places. Twitter, not Instagram, we don't have that. iTunes, that's what I was trying to say. We do have a Facebook page, which we'll be using a bit more next season. And, of course, on Stitcher, you can get us as well, and on YouTube. So do give us a follow, leave us a comment, and we'll be back tomorrow after France, Iceland. Until then, though, keep your satchel clean and your pipe stoked. Keep the dog quiet, and we'll speak to you very soon.
Now it drops for Fabregas, who looks for Iniesta, who's onside! Spain score! Hazard, well he is a match winner. Is this the moment? It is! Divock Origi! There, and now Keller, and they now have the breakthrough. Fail. It's a great effort!